Beloved, before you close your eyes tonight, take a deep breath and quiet your heart. The day may have been long, burdens heavy, and your thoughts scattered, but this is the hour heaven listens. When night falls, it is not just the time for sleep. It is the time for the spirit to rest in God's presence. Every night carries a divine opportunity to reset your faith, renew your mind, and reconnect your heart with the promises of God. There is something powerful that happens when you pray before sleep. The invisible world responds to faith-filled words. When you release your worries to God before the night comes, your dreams become filled with peace instead of anxiety. Your sleep becomes an altar of rest where angels minister and the Spirit of God breathes fresh life into your soul. Tonight, let your heart declare, Lord, I give you this day. Every success, every struggle, every thought, I lay it at your feet. When you pray like this, you are not simply ending the day, you are opening the door for divine restoration. Prayer before sleep is not a ritual, it is a relationship moment. A sacred meeting between you and your Creator where burdens are exchanged for blessings and rest replaces unrest. When you kneel before the Lord in the quiet of the night, heaven begins to reorder what feels broken. The confusion that clouded your mind clears. The guilt that whispered against you is silenced. The fear that chased you all day loses its grip. The voice of peace begins to whisper, Be still, I am with you. Every night becomes a divine appointment for transformation when your last words are not complaints but faith. So before you sleep, pray not only for protection, but for divine alignment. Ask God to touch your mind so that your dreams carry visions of purpose, not confusion. Ask Him to renew your body so you wake up refreshed, not weary. Ask Him to speak through the silence of the night so that your spirit awakens stronger than before. For when you commit your night to God, you are preparing your morning for victory. If your day was filled with mistakes, pray for mercy. If it was filled with pain, pray for healing. If you faced battles, pray for strength. And if you felt alone, pray for His presence to fill your room. Remember, darkness cannot stay where His light dwells. Every word of prayer before sleep releases light into the unseen realm, scattering every shadow of fear and despair. The night is not a time to worry. It is a time to trust. It is in the quiet hours that the seeds of tomorrow's miracles are planted. The Lord does His deepest work in the stillness when the world has gone silent, and only your spirit remains awake in worship. Tonight, open your heart and whisper, Father, I rest in your love. I surrender my plans, my dreams, my fears. Work in me as I sleep. Heal me where I am broken. Restore what has been lost. Prepare me for what you have prepared for me. And as you drift into sleep, believe that heaven is moving. Believe that angels are guarding. Believe that new strength, new wisdom, and new favor are being released into your tomorrow. Sleep will no longer be an escape. It will be an encounter. Every night will become a divine reset where your spirit rises even as your body rests. Now close your eyes in faith. Let your heart be still. Know that the same God who watched over you through the day will watch over you through the night. His peace is your pillow, His promises your blanket, and His presence your greatest assurance. May this night prayer carry you into a new dawn of grace, healing, and divine surprises. Rest peacefully, for heaven is working while you sleep. Beloved, before you close your eyes tonight, take a deep breath and quiet your heart because this moment is sacred. It is where heaven draws near to a heart that is still and listening. When the noise of the world fades and the weight of the day settles, there is a gentle voice calling you to rest. Not only your body but your soul, for the night is not just a time for sleep. It is a divine invitation to enter into the peace of God. It is the hour when your faith speaks louder than your fears, when your spirit whispers the prayers your lips are too tired to form, when the unseen hand of God reaches to comfort you in ways words cannot describe. Every sunset is a reminder that even after the hardest day, there is always a promise of renewal waiting in the quiet. You see, prayer before sleep is not a routine. It is a spiritual exchange, a moment where you hand over your burdens and receive his rest in return. It is where the battle of your mind ceases and the peace that surpasses understanding begins to reign. There are times when you lie down but cannot rest, because your thoughts are heavy with worry, because you carry tomorrow's fear into tonight's silence. But this is the moment to release it all, to whisper, Lord, I give you this day. For when you give your day to him, he gives his peace to you. When you trust him with your night, he begins to work on your tomorrow. This is the mystery of faith, that in the darkness God is not distant but deeply present, watching, healing, restoring, arranging what your eyes cannot see. Sometimes you may not feel his presence, but faith is not about feeling. It is about trusting that he is near, that while you sleep, heaven is still awake on your behalf. There is something powerful about closing your day in gratitude instead of complaint. When your last words are thank you, the night becomes filled with light, your dreams become guided by grace, and your rest becomes covered by divine protection. When you rest your mind in thanksgiving, the enemy loses access to your thoughts. When you declare, Lord, you are faithful even in what I don't understand, you are inviting peace to reign over confusion, healing to replace weariness, and hope to take root in the soil of surrender. The truth is, the human heart needs moments of quiet surrender, moments where you stop fighting battles that only God can win. When you pray before sleep, you are declaring your dependence on the one who never slumbers. You are saying, Lord, I cannot carry this on my own. And in that humility, his strength begins to rise within you. Sometimes the greatest faith is not in loud declarations, but in silent trust, the kind that whispers, I believe you will make a way. Even when the way seems hidden in the shadows of the night, as you lie down, remember that the presence of God surrounds you like a warm blanket. His peace covers every corner of your mind. His spirit moves gently through your thoughts, bringing stillness where there was restlessness, and healing where there was pain. When your soul is aligned with him in prayer, even your dreams become instruments of revelation. Sometimes he will speak in the stillness, giving you vision, giving you comfort, preparing you for what's ahead. And even if the day brought disappointment or loss, bring it into his presence before sleep. Say, Lord, I surrender this pain into your hands. For nothing surrendered to God remains broken. He is the healer of emotions, the restorer of hope, the mender of hearts that have been wounded by life's journey. Tonight he longs to remind you that his love is not seasonal but constant, not based on your performance but rooted in his nature. Before you close your eyes, imagine his light filling your room, every fear melting away, every thought coming under his peace. This is what happens when prayer becomes your last act of the day. It transforms your room into a sanctuary, your bed into an altar, and your rest into worship. While the world sleeps in anxiety, you will sleep in divine assurance, knowing that the one who holds the universe also holds you. He neither forgets nor forsakes. He is watching, guarding, and working all things for your good. So tonight, don't let your mind wander into worry. Let it wander into worship. Let your heart find its rhythm in gratitude, and your spirit find its strength in surrender. Whisper softly, Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for your presence. Thank you that even in the silence you are working. Then let go, rest deeply, and know that in the quiet hours of the night, heaven is closer than ever. For the God who begins good works in your day continues them through your night, until every part of your being is renewed, restored, and ready for the light of a new dawn that carries his favor. Your peace, there is something powerful that happens when you pray before sleep, because it is the moment when heaven draws near to listen to the whispers of your heart, when your body begins to rest but your spirit comes alive in communion with God, when you release every burden, every fear, and every thought that has weighed on you throughout the day. It is the divine exchange of your weakness for his strength, your anxiety for his peace, your exhaustion for his renewal. Prayer before sleep is not merely about words, but about surrender. It is about opening the gates of your heart and saying, "Lord, take what I cannot carry." And in that moment, a supernatural peace begins to flow like a river through the corridors of your soul, calming storms that no one else can see, healing wounds that no one else understands, restoring what the day has taken away. When you pray before sleep, something shifts in the unseen realm. Because prayer is not bound by time or distance, the moment you begin to speak in faith, heaven begins to move, angels are dispatched, battles are fought, and answers begin to unfold. You may close your eyes thinking you are ending the day, but in truth, you are activating a spiritual reset, setting in motion divine order where there was confusion, planting seeds of peace where there was turmoil. Your words of faith at night are not wasted. They travel into the morning, shaping your atmosphere before you even wake. The night carries a spiritual mystery because it is the hour when most of the world sleeps and the noise of distraction fades. It is when your heart can hear the voice of God most clearly. It is when the Spirit of God breathes upon you in quiet strength. You may not hear an audible voice, but something deep within begins to settle. You begin to sense that everything will be all right, that what troubled you will not triumph over you, and that what you have committed to God is now safe in his hands. Prayer before sleep builds a wall of peace around your life. It creates a spiritual covering that protects not only your body but your mind and emotions from unseen attacks, for the enemy thrives in worry, but he cannot dwell where peace reigns. Many people lie down in bed with heavy hearts, restless minds, and unfinished thoughts. They replay conversations, mistakes, and regrets. They wonder about tomorrow and the things they cannot control. But this is the beauty of night prayer. It takes all that noise and turns it into worship. It transforms your worry into trust, your questions into declarations of faith. You don't need the perfect words. You just need a willing heart that says, "God, I trust you even in this." Because the moment trust is released, peace begins to fill the space where fear once lived, and your rest becomes sacred. When you choose to pray instead of worry, something miraculous happens within you. Your mind quiets, your breathing slows, your body releases tension, and your soul begins to rise. It is as if your spirit remembers that you are not alone, that you are held by the one who commands the stars. The same God who created the night created it for rest, not fear, for peace, not panic, so that you would have a time to draw back from the chaos of the day and dwell in the safety of his presence. Prayer before sleep repositions your soul under that divine safety. It teaches you to let go of control and embrace peace as your inheritance. Sometimes as you pray before sleep, tears may come, not of despair but of release, because something breaks when you pour your heart out honestly before God. The walls come down, the pretenses fade, and you realize that he understands every unspoken emotion. He does not need perfection. He desires connection, and in that connection healing flows. Even the smallest prayer said with sincerity carries power, because it is not the length of the prayer that moves heaven but the depth of your faith. You may whisper a single word, "Help," or "Thank you," and heaven will still respond as you lie there after praying. Imagine the peace of God like a soft blanket wrapping around you, your mind becoming light, your heartbeat steady, your spirit breathing freely again. You are no longer wrestling with the worries of the day because you have transferred ownership of them to the one who can handle them better than you ever could. You are no longer anxious about tomorrow because you have already placed it in God's care. And while you rest, he works. While you dream, he plans. While you sleep, he surrounds you with his presence, so that even in unconscious rest. Your spirit remains anchored in divine peace. This is the secret that transforms ordinary nights into encounters with the supernatural. The awareness that your prayers don't end when you say Amen. They continue to echo in eternity, shaping your destiny, guarding your household, and paving the way for unseen blessings to manifest. So tonight, when you close your eyes, remember that prayer before sleep is more than a habit. It is a holy act of trust. It is an offering of love, a declaration that says, God, I belong to you. And in that surrender, miracles begin quietly, unseen yet unstoppable. For the peace that follows such prayer is not temporary. It is divine. It lingers into your dreams, it flows into your morning, and it prepares you to wake up with renewed faith and unshakable strength, ready to face a new day. Clothed in his perfect peace, tonight let your heart declare, Lord, I give you this day. Every success, every struggle, every thought, I lay it at your feet, because there is something sacred that happens when a human heart truly surrenders before sleep. The day's noise fades away, and only the truth remains. That you were never meant to carry everything alone. When you bring your heart before God at night, you are telling him, I trust you more than my circumstances. I believe that even when my hands are empty, your hands are still full. It is in that simple act of faith that peace begins to settle like a gentle rain, washing away the weight of the day and replacing it with divine stillness. Prayer before sleep is not a closing act, but an opening moment, a doorway into the supernatural, where the Spirit of God begins to touch the hidden places of your soul, restoring your strength and renewing your hope. For tomorrow, when you whisper your prayers at night, you are doing more than speaking words. You are creating an atmosphere of faith around you. You are drawing a line that separates your spirit from the anxiety of the world, and saying, I choose rest in God's promises rather than worry in my own strength. This kind of prayer does not depend on how perfect your words sound. It depends on the sincerity of your heart. For heaven always responds to honesty more than eloquence. A single sigh from a weary soul can move the heart of God as powerfully as 1,000 words. When you say, Lord, take my worries, take my pain, take my uncertainty, something invisible shifts. You begin to feel lighter, not because the problems disappeared instantly, but because they are no longer yours to carry. Every night becomes holy when you hand over your day to the one who rules eternity. When you pray like this, you are not just asking for blessings, you are participating in divine alignment. You are allowing heaven's rhythm to reorder your heart and mind. Sometimes you may not see the results right away, but the peace that follows is proof that God is working behind the scenes. Prayer before sleep invites God to rewrite your story while you rest, to restore what was broken while you dream, and to heal what was wounded while you are still. It is the mystery of grace that while you sleep, his hands never stop moving. There are people who lie awake battling the thoughts that never seem to stop, but those who learn to surrender through prayer experience a different kind of night, because surrender breaks the power of fear. Fear thrives on control. It feeds on the need to know what happens next, but faith flourishes in release. It grows in the soil of trust. When you say, Lord, I don't know what tomorrow brings, but I trust that you hold it already, you silence the voice of fear and invite peace to govern your heart. This peace is not passive. It is powerful. It guards your mind from the chaos that seeks to steal your rest. It becomes a spiritual shield surrounding you through the night. When your heart surrendered fully, you begin to understand that God's rest is not just physical. It is spiritual, emotional, and mental. He restores not only your strength, but also your perspective. Sometimes the answers you seek during the day come to you in the quiet of the night, because you finally stopped striving long enough to hear his whisper. He does not shout over your noise. He speaks softly in your stillness. This is why surrender is the key to true peace. It opens the ears of your spirit to the language of heaven. As you close your eyes tonight, picture laying every burden one by one before his throne. The worry about The future, the pain of yesterday, the mistakes of today, give them all to him, and in their place receive his calm assurance that everything is under control. You may not know how he will do it, but faith does not need to know how. Faith only needs to know who. When you trust the who, the how becomes his responsibility, and in that realization your heart finds freedom from every weight you carried all day. Surrender in prayer before sleep is an act of war. It confuses the enemy, because while he expects you to dwell in fear, you choose to dwell in faith. He expects you to toss and turn, but you rest. He expects you to doubt, but you trust, and that trust becomes your greatest weapon. It is the declaration that says, I will not be moved by what I see. I will be anchored in what I believe, for my God never sleeps, never forgets, and never fails. So as the night deepens and silence fills the air, let your last thought be not of worry, but of worship. Whisper, thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for the unseen battles you fought for me. Thank you that while I rest you continue to work in my favor. And as you breathe out that final prayer, a wave of divine peace will cover you, reminding you that the one who began this day with you will finish it faithfully. His presence will hover over you like a gentle guardian, and by morning your spirit will rise renewed, ready to walk. When you kneel before the Lord in the quiet of the night, heaven begins to reorder what feels broken. The confusion that clouded your thoughts throughout the day starts to fade, and a gentle calm takes its place. You begin to sense that you are not alone, that the one who created you is watching over you with eyes of compassion and hands full of mercy. There is something extraordinary that happens when a heart chooses stillness in his presence, because the night is the moment when the noise of the world grows silent, and the whisper of God becomes clearer. Every prayer you utter in that sacred stillness carries the fragrance of faith and the weight of surrender. It is not a performance, but a conversation between a child and their father, a moment when your tears become words, your silence becomes worship, and your faith becomes a bridge that connects heaven and earth. Many people lie down with heavy thoughts, but those who pray before sleep rise in peace, because prayer clears the clutter of the soul. It removes the dust of doubt and the weight of disappointment. It allows God to rearrange the pieces of your heart that were scattered by the storms of the day. When you pray, you are not just talking into the air, you are sending your faith into motion. You are releasing divine energy that begins to shape your tomorrow. Even while you rest, there is power in those quiet moments, because the same God who spoke light into darkness still speaks light into your life. When you come to him with humility, every worry that once felt enormous begins to shrink in the light of his presence. As you whisper your prayers before sleep, heaven takes note. Angels are dispatched at the sound of faith. Words of peace echo through the unseen realm, and the spiritual atmosphere around you begins to change. Prayer transforms your room into a sanctuary and your bed into a holy ground of communion. You may not see it with your eyes, but something invisible begins to shift. Your spirit begins to rise above the weight of your circumstances. Your faith begins to breathe again, and your heart learns to trust again. There is no darkness deep enough to silence a praying heart, because every word spoken in faith becomes a light that cannot be extinguished by fear. When you choose to pray instead of complain, you are declaring victory even before you see it. You are saying, God, I may not understand what today brought, but I know you are still in control. It is in those words of surrender that strength returns to your soul. Sometimes you will not have all the answers, and sometimes the silence of God may feel heavy, but silence does not mean absence. It means he is working in ways your eyes cannot see, and your mind cannot imagine. The quiet of the night is often the workshop of heaven, where your prayers become the material of tomorrow's miracles. Each time you release your pain in prayer, you make space for peace to enter. You cannot hold on to both pain and peace at the same time. One must leave for the other to dwell. And when you pray with faith, peace always wins. It seeps into your heart like warm light into a cold room. It softens what has grown hard and heals what has been torn. There is a grace that comes with nighttime prayer, a grace that whispers, you are safe now, rest in me. And that whisper has the power to silence every storm within you when your heart is troubled and your thoughts restless. Remember that the presence of God is not far. He is as close as your next breath. Sometimes you will feel his peace as a gentle warmth. Other times you will only know it by faith. But either way it is real, and it is enough when you lie in bed whispering prayers that no one else hears. Heaven listens intently, and the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead breathes life into your weary soul. That is why you can rest without fear, because you are being held in divine arms, stronger than any problem you face as you pray through the night. Remember that you are not praying to change God's mind. You are praying to align your heart with his will. You are letting his peace ride over your anxiety and his promises overwrite your fears. Each prayer pulls you deeper into the rhythm of his grace until your heartbeat begins to match his, until your trust becomes stronger than your tears, until your rest becomes worship and your sleep becomes holy. In those quiet hours, the Lord is not only restoring your strength, but also preparing you for a dawn filled with answers you have yet to see. So tonight, when you kneel and whisper your final prayer, know that heaven is not distant. It bends to listen to the cry of your heart. Your Father delights in your surrender, and as you close your eyes in faith, he opens the gates of favor over your life. While the world sleeps in uncertainty, you will rest in assurance, for the same God who walked with you through the storms of the day will watch over you in the silence of the night until the first light of morning finds you renewed at peace and ready to rise again, wrapped in his endless love. So before you sleep, pray not only for protection, but for divine alignment, because when your heart aligns with the will of God, even your dreams become messages of hope and your rest becomes filled with peace. The night is not a time to escape the day, but a sacred moment to let heaven touch your spirit in ways that words cannot describe. When you bow your head and whisper your final prayer, you are opening your life to divine orchestration. The unseen hand of God begins to move, shaping your tomorrow. While you rest tonight, you may not realize it, but every moment of surrender before sleep becomes a seed planted in the soil of eternity, a seed that grows into miracles of peace, direction, and favor. When you pray, you are saying, Lord, I give you permission to rewrite my story, to align my steps with your perfect will, and to breathe new strength into what feels weary. Prayer before sleep is not just a habit, it is a declaration of faith. It says, I trust you with what I cannot see, I release control of what I cannot fix, and I believe that even as I sleep, you are working on my behalf. When you pray like this, you are not begging God to move, you are inviting him to dwell. You are making space for his presence to fill every corner of your life. You are acknowledging that his timing is perfect and his plan is complete, and in that trust your heart finds stillness. You may not always understand why certain things happen, but the peace of God assures you that even what feels uncertain is part of a greater design. There is something holy about a night surrendered to God, because while your body rests, your spirit receives the whispers of heaven. Divine alignment begins when you invite God into the smallest details of your heart, your relationships, your dreams, your decisions, your emotions. Everything begins to settle into divine order. Sometimes this alignment feels like release, letting go of things that no longer serve his purpose. Sometimes it feels like direction, new insight, new clarity, new peace that carries into the dawn. When you pray, Lord, align me with your will, you are saying, make me ready for what you have prepared for me. Remove what is not from you, and fill me with what is pure, holy, and true. And as you rest, your spirit begins to shift into that order. When you pray before sleep, you are resetting the atmosphere of your life. You are washing away the residue of the day, the hurtful words, the unexpected frustrations, the silent disappointments, and replacing them with peace and gratitude. When you pray, you are not escaping reality. You are strengthening your foundation. Faith, you are saying, I refuse to let the day's chaos dictate my peace. I choose to end in worship instead of worry, because the one who controls my tomorrow is faithful tonight. This kind of prayer creates a supernatural rhythm between heaven and earth, a harmony that carries your spirit into the next day anchored in purpose and grace. If you close your eyes tonight with the name of the Lord on your lips, you are entering a realm of rest where angels move on assignment around you and the Holy Spirit ministers, healing to every wounded part of your being. This is why you should never end your day without prayer, because prayer aligns your soul with divine protection. It draws the boundaries of peace around your mind. It closes the doors that fear tries to open, and it seals your rest with the promise that no weapon formed against you will prosper. When you say, Lord, I commit this night into your hands, you are surrendering the weight of control. You are giving him permission to take over what your human strength cannot carry. Sometimes divine alignment begins in the simplest moments of obedience, when you forgive before sleep, when you choose gratitude over complaint, when you trust instead of fear. Each of these choices becomes an act of faith that opens the heavens above you. The Lord delights in a heart that trusts him even in silence, and it is in those quiet hours that he begins to reveal direction for what is ahead, sometimes not in loud answers, but in peaceful assurance. When you wake, you will find clarity where there was confusion, strength where there was weakness, and joy where there was heaviness, because his Spirit has been at work while you rested. So tonight, do not let your last thoughts be of worry or regret. Let them be of faith and hope. Whisper, Lord, align my heart with yours, and let your peace guard my soul. Let every part of my life fall into the rhythm of your will, and let my rest be an act of worship. As you speak these words, the presence of God fills your space. The air becomes lighter, your heartbeat steadier, your thoughts clearer, because divine alignment always brings peace, and where peace dwells, the power of God moves freely. And when the morning comes, you will wake up not just refreshed, but renewed, carrying the quiet strength that comes only from those who have rested in the will of God, knowing that the same hand that watched over you in the night will guide you through the day with wisdom, love, and unshakable grace. If your day was filled with mistakes, pray for mercy. If it was filled with pain, pray for healing. If it was filled with battles, pray for strength. And if loneliness followed you through the hours, pray for his presence to fill your room. Because there is nothing you bring before God that he cannot touch and transform. Prayer before sleep is not about perfection, it is about connection. It is the moment when heaven bends low to meet a heart that is honest about its weakness. You do not need fancy words, you only need sincerity. The Lord is near to the broken and attentive to the weary, and every sigh of your soul becomes a prayer that reaches his throne. When you whisper, Lord, I need you tonight, it is enough to awaken the mercy of heaven and release the comfort of his Spirit over you. There are nights when your heart feels too heavy to speak, but even in silence, God listens, because he hears what the lips cannot express. The tears that fall without words are seen by him, and every one of them is a language of trust that says, I know you are still good even when I do not understand what I am going through. Prayer before sleep is a gentle reminder that you do not have to carry today into tomorrow. It is a divine reset where mercy washes away the dust of the day and gives your spirit a fresh beginning. You may have stumbled, you may have spoken in anger or acted in haste, but when you come before him in humility, he restores what your mistakes tried to steal. His grace does not run out when the sun sets, it renews every time you return to him. Pain often lingers when the world grows quiet, but that is also when God draws closest, because he is not afraid of your pain. He sits beside you in it, holding your heart with tenderness and speaking peace into your wounds. As you pray tonight, let every hurt rise to the surface, not to torment you, but to be healed by his presence. Say, Father, I release what I cannot change, I let go of what I cannot fix, and I receive your healing power to mend what is broken. And even if the pain does not disappear instantly, peace will begin to take root, and healing will begin its silent work within you. For those who fought battles today, whether in your mind, your relationships, or your faith, remember that prayer before sleep is your weapon of victory. It is where you draw strength from the one who never grows weary. The Lord does not expect you to end every day in triumph. He invites you to end every day in trust. When you say, Lord, I give you this battle, you are allowing him to fight for you while you rest. He does not need your strength to win. He only needs your surrender. He does not require your perfection, only your willingness to believe that he is greater than anything that came against you today. And while you sleep, he fortifies your spirit, preparing you for the new strength that will rise with the dawn. Loneliness too finds its answer in prayer, because the moment you begin to speak his name, you are no longer alone. The presence of God fills every empty space within you like light, filling a dark room. His companionship is unlike any other, because it brings peace without demand, comfort without condition, and love without end. When you whisper, Lord, I am here with you, he responds in ways you cannot always explain, but you will feel it in your heart, the assurance that you are seen, known, and deeply loved by the one who formed you. Prayer transforms solitude into sanctuary and silence into symphony, where your soul begins to sing again, even in stillness. Every time you pray before sleep, you are building a bridge between your pain and his promise, between your weakness and his power, between your sorrow and his joy. The Lord is always closer than your thoughts, and always stronger than your fears. He does not measure your worth by how well you handled the day, but by how willingly you turn to him at its end. Prayer before sleep is like handing him the broken pieces and trusting him to make something beautiful from them. And he will, for his mercy has never failed, and his love never gives up on you. So as you lay your head down tonight, let go of the weight you carried, let go of the guilt that whispers too loudly, let go of the fear that lingers in the corners of your mind, and let his peace take its rightful place. Whisper softly, Lord, thank you for your mercy, thank you for healing me, thank you for fighting for me, and thank you for never leaving me. And as those words leave your lips, feel the atmosphere around you shift, the heaviness lifting, the warmth of his presence surrounding you. The night no longer feels long or empty, because you are resting in the company of divine love, the kind that protects, restores, and renews. May your dreams tonight be filled with his peace, and your heart awaken tomorrow full of strength, knowing that everything surrendered in prayer is now in the safest hands possible, and that his mercy will meet you again with the morning light. The night is not a time to worry, it is a time to trust. It is not the hour to replay your fears, but moment to release them into the hands of the one who never fails. In the quiet of the night, heaven works, silently accomplishing what your strength could never achieve in daylight. When you choose to pray instead of panic, when you choose peace instead of fear, you are entering a deeper realm of faith, where your spirit finds rest even if your circumstances have not yet changed. Prayer before sleep is a declaration that says, I believe God is working even when I cannot see it, that his promises are still alive even when my emotions are tired, and that his presence is enough to hold me through night. It is in the stillness of the night that the greatest spiritual exchanges take place. The seeds of tomorrow's miracles are planted. When you rest in faith, you may not hear thunder or see signs, but the peace that follows prayer is proof that God is near. He moves most powerfully in silence. While the world sleeps, his spirit hovers over the lives of those who trust him, just as he watched over creation in the beginning. He still watches over you now, forming something beautiful out of what feels empty. This is why you must not fear the silence. It is not emptiness, it is incubation, where God grows what he promised in unseen places. When you close your eyes and breathe out every worry, heaven begins to breathe into you strength, renewal, and calmness. You can almost feel the shift inside as the heavy air of fear gives way to the fragrance of peace. The night becomes holy when your last words are not complaints but surrender. Lord, I trust you. This is the kind of faith that moves mountains, not through effort, but through rest, the kind of faith that whispers God is still on the throne. Even when I am too tired to pray long prayers, he understands the size of your heart. He reads the language of your tears, and every word you release before sleep becomes a key that unlocks his peace. The Lord delights in those who rest in his love, because rest is a form of worship. It is the evidence that you believe he will do what he said. It is saying, I no longer need to control what I cannot fix. I choose to trust instead of trying. I choose faith over fear. And when that choice is made, even silently, heaven responds. The atmosphere changes. Your room becomes filled with quiet light. Your heart grows calm. Your thoughts soften. And your soul begins to breathe again. The night is transformed from a time of uncertainty into a meeting place of miracles. So many people fear the night because they associate it with darkness. But for those who believe, it is the most sacred time of renewal. In the night, God repairs what was broken during the day. He restores what was drained. He replenishes what was lost and prepares you for the strength of a new dawn. Sometimes the reason you feel pressure before breakthrough is because heaven is working overtime to align your steps. While you rest, prayer before sleep allows you to participate in that divine process. You may be lying still, but in the spirit, things are shifting, doors are being prepared to open, and blessings are taking shape beyond your vision. When you pray before sleep, you are not merely ending your day, you are opening your tomorrow in faith. You are allowing God to rewrite what worry tried to destroy. You are declaring that peace will reign where chaos once ruled. You are inviting divine order into the rhythm of your life. You may think you are sleeping, but in truth your spirit is resting in the arms of purpose. Your mind is being renewed, your heart is being cleansed, your body is being healed. This is the mystery of prayerful rest. That while your eyes close, heaven's work begins fully. Trust is the heartbeat of every night prayer. When you whisper, God, I know you are with me even in the dark, you are declaring victory over unseen battles. You are reminding your soul that the darkness cannot last forever, that the light of His promise will rise again, and that no fear, no failure, and no enemy can stand against the peace that comes from His presence. That peace does not depend on what happens outside of you. It flows from what He is doing within you. And when your spirit is aligned with that peace, even nightmares lose their power, even restlessness loses its hold, because your mind is anchored in the calm of His presence as you drift toward sleep. Tonight, remember that you are never alone. Angels stand guard around your home. The Spirit of God rests within you, and His promises hover over you like a shield. Let your last words be words of trust, not fear. Thank you, Lord, for watching over me. Thank you for working while I rest. Thank you that the night is not my enemy, but my opportunity to meet you again in stillness. And as you surrender every thought into His hands, you will feel His love wrap around you like softest blanket. His peace will guard you from anxiety, and His grace will carry you into a new morning where His mercy is already waiting, because the God who begins with you at sunrise is the same God who holds you through the night, faithful, unchanging, and forever near.